Welcome to another episode of the Retirepreneur Podcast. I'm your host with this week's executive summary for busy entrepreneurs building their second act business. Today's episode is designed for maximum impact in minimum time.
And this is such a critical topic today.
It really is. Imagine going to a high-stakes networking event, walking right up to a CEO who desperately needs your help, and instead of introducing yourself, you just silently hand them a corporate resume from 1998 and walk away.
Right, which sounds completely crazy.
Totally crazy. But if you are over 55 and launching a consulting or coaching business, well, your digital presence is probably doing exactly that right now.
Yeah, that is actually the perfect way to frame what we are looking at today. Because the reality is your LinkedIn profile is actively doing sales work for you 24 hours a day, whether you actually realize it or not.
Right.
People treat it like this digital filing cabinet for their work history, but it really functions as an active, ruthless filter.
And that is the exact mission of today's deep dive. We are looking at how to transform your profile from a static corporate resume into an actual client-attracting asset.
Exactly.
And the stakes here are incredibly high, right? Because we are talking about professionals who want to monetize their decades of expertise through consulting, coaching, or maybe a course, and they want to do it without risking their retirement security.
Yeah, and I think the scale of the opportunity is what makes this so urgent. We really have to look at the numbers to understand why you just cannot afford to ignore this.
Oh, absolutely. Lay those numbers out for us.
So we are looking at a platform with over 1.3 billion member accounts.
Wow.
Right. And out of those, you have roughly 134.5 million daily active users. But the number that should really make you sit up and pay attention is this one. According to research from Cognism for 2026, there are 65 million decision makers actively using the platform.
Wait, 65 million?
65 million.
That is massive. I mean, those are people who actually have the budget and the authority to hire you or buy your course or retain your consulting services.
Exactly. They are not just scrolling for entertainment. They're looking for solutions.
Right.
Most business-to-business buyers, they use the platform to review someone's role, assess their seniority, and verify their expertise long before they ever agree to a first conversation.
So they are vetting you.
Yes, they are running you through a risk assessment filter before they reply to an email or accept a calendar invite. If your profile screams, I am looking for a full-time corporate job, they're going to pass right over you.
Because that is not what they're looking to buy.
Exactly.
So if the profile is acting as this strict filter, I think we need to talk about the underlying psychology. Like, what is the fundamental shift our listeners need to make in their own heads before they even touch their keyboard?
Well, it comes down to one core mindset change. You absolutely must stop presenting yourself as a candidate looking for a job.
Yep.
And you must start presenting yourself as a resource offering a solution.
A resource offering a solution. I know from my own experience and from talking to so many people in this demographic that this is a massive psychological hurdle.
Oh, totally. It is very hard.
Because when you are a candidate, you are in this passive state of mind, You list your history, you highlight your good behavior, and you basically just wait around to be chosen by a committee.
Right. You are waiting for permission.
Exactly. But when you are a resource, you are in an active state. You are identifying a specific problem in the market, and you are offering a specific fix.
And that is the thing, right? The profile that earned you all those corporate promotions over the last 30 years, well, it was optimized for a completely different game.
Yeah.
It was built to impress a human resources department. It was built to show loyalty and compliance. But that exact same profile is now actively filtering out the consulting clients you want to reach today.
Because a client does not care if you are a loyal employee.
Right. A client cares if you can fix their broken supply chain or, streamline their accounting processes.
Which means we have to completely change the signals you are sending. And to prove you are a valuable resource, you first have to get a busy decision maker to just stop scrolling through their feed.
Right, which begins with the very first words they see right next to your name. We are talking about the headline.
The headline?
Yeah, the headline is arguably the highest stakes piece of real estate you own on the internet right now.
Okay, I am going to push back on this a little bit on behalf of everyone listening.
Sure.
Let us say I spent 30 years climbing the corporate ladder. I put in the late nights, I missed family dinners, I did the hard work, and I finally earned the title of vice president or senior director.
Yeah.
You are telling me to just drop that title from my headline.
Yeah.
I mean, deleting that feels like throwing away my hard-earned status. It feels like erasing my entire professional identity.
I completely get that reaction. I really do. It is actually the number one point of resistance for experienced professionals.
I bet.
But we have to look at how human attention actually works on a screen. Job titles and company names are backward-facing signals.
Backward-facing. Okay.
Right. They tell people what you used to do and who you used to do it for. But a 58-year-old potential client sitting at their desk, stressing over a business problem, well, they have about 5 seconds to decide if your profile is relevant to their specific situation today.
5 seconds is a blink. It is barely enough time to read a sentence.
Exactly. That is why they do not care about your past internal corporate rank. The fact that you were a vice president at a specific firm is a nice piece of trivia.
But it does not answer their question.
No, it does not answer their immediate burning question, which is always, can this person help me? You have to change that backward-facing signal into a forward-facing promise.
Okay, let us get really practical then. How do we actually write a forward-facing headline that stops the scroll and answers that exact question?
We use a very specific 3-part value statement formula.
Okay, I love a good formula. What is part 1?
Part 1 is identifying exactly who you help.
Yeah.
And you need to be specific about the person, not just the broad industry.
Right.
Part 2 is the outcome you create. Like what actually changes for them after they hire you.
Got it.
And part 3 is optional proof, which could be your years of experience or a relevant piece of your background to establish trust.
I think we need to look at a specific real-world example to make this concrete for everyone. The source material highlights Kurt Rose, the founder of Retirepreneur.
Yes.
And his profile is actually a perfect case study for this exact transition.
It really is. Let us look at his before and after because it tells the whole story.
So Kurt's original headline used to read, founder at Retirepreneur, vertical bar, still building.
Right.
Now, put yourself in the shoes of a potential client scrolling through a feed. You see that headline. It tells you absolutely nothing about who he serves or what problem he solves. It just tells you his internal job title and a vague status update.
Yeah, it is a completely self-centered headline. And, I do not mean that maliciously.
Right. It is just what we are taught to do.
Exactly. It is just focused entirely on him and his status rather than the reader. But look at how he shifted it. The updated version reads, from corporate CFO to a retirepreneur, vertical bar, helping professionals 55 plus monetize expertise through consulting, coaching, and courses.
That is a night and day difference. It is the exact same person with the exact same background, but it sends a totally different signal.
Completely different. Let us break down why it works using that 3-part formula. The proof actually comes first in his case.
From corporate CFO to retirepreneur.
Right. That establishes immediate financial and corporate credibility. He is signaling that he understands the highest levels of corporate finance.
Then we have the specific target audience, helping professionals 55 plus. He is not just vaguely offering to help anyone who wants to start a business.
No, he is speaking directly to a specific age demographic with a very specific set of life circumstances.
And finally, the outcome. Monetize expertise through consulting, coaching, and courses. If you are a 58-year-old professional looking to start a second act business without risking your retirement, you read that headline and you immediately know you're in the right place.
Exactly. You do not have to guess. You do not have to translate his past job title into your current problem. The translation is completely done for you.
Okay, so the headline did its job. We successfully earned the click, and the visitor is now sitting on your profile. But now we have a totally new problem.
Well, you do.
They are staring at a massive wall of text in the About section, and human nature says they're going to bail if we do not hook them immediately.
Yeah, people deeply misunderstand how the About section actually functions mechanically on a desktop or a phone screen. They write it into Microsoft Word and just paste it in, assuming the reader sees the whole page.
But they do not see the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
The platform only shows roughly 2 lines of preview text before the visitor has to click that little See More button. I actually like to think of that See More button as a bouncer at a very exclusive club. If you do not impress the bouncer with your first 2 lines, the velvet rope stays closed.
I love that analogy.
They are never going to read the rest of your impressive credentials.
No, they are not. And if that bouncer turns them away, they do not just stand in line, they close the app entirely or click over to a competitor.
Exactly.
That is why treating this section like a performance review is fatal. The biggest mistake people make here is starting with a chronological list of every job they have had since college, expecting the reader to find their career journey fascinating.
And the reality is the reader only cares about themselves.
Always. The About section must be structured like a short sales page, built entirely around the reader's pain points.
So how do we write those crucial first two lines to get past the bouncer?
Well, you must do two things in your opening sentence. You must name the specific person you help, and you must name the specific problem they face. Do not waste space clearing your throat. Do not start with a philosophical quote about leadership. Just get right to the point.
The source material gives a great example of this. It suggests an opening like, I help professionals 55 plus turn decades of corporate expertise into consulting and coaching income without starting from scratch.
That is perfect. That single sentence does significantly more heavy lifting than 3 paragraphs of a standard corporate biography.
Yeah, it names the person, it names the desired outcome, and it directly addresses a massive psychological barrier for this demographic.
Which is the fear of starting over from scratch.
If I am the target audience for that service, I am absolutely clicking see more because I feel like the writer is reading my mind.
And once they click, the rest of the section should follow a logical, reader-focused flow. You expand on the problem they face. You briefly provide your background as proof that you can solve it. You explain what you specifically do now. And then, importantly, you end with a single next step.
Okay, before we get to that next step, we really need to talk about a massive trap that older professionals fall into when writing this text.
Oh, yes.
We are talking about the third person trap.
Yeah, writing about yourself in the third person is one of the fastest ways to destroy trust on a social platform.
It is everywhere, though. People write things like, John brings over 40 years of experience in executive leadership, or Sarah is a visionary leader with a proven track record of driving revenue. Why do we do this to ourselves?
We do it because corporate conditioning tells us it sounds professional. We think it makes us sound important, like an official speaker biography at a major industry conference.
Right.
But LinkedIn is not a printed conference brochure. It is a first-person environment. It is a digital networking event.
It just sounds so distant and, frankly, a little arrogant. I mean, imagine walking up to a group of people at a networking event, shaking someone's hand and saying, John brings over 40 years of experience to this conversation.
They would look at you like you lost your mind. You would never speak that way in a room full of human beings you are trying to build a relationship with. So do not write that way on your profile. Write the exact way you would speak over a cup of coffee.
Just use I and me.
Yes. It builds immediate rapport, which is essential when you are selling your own expertise as a consultant. You are the product, so you need to sound human.
Okay, so you have captured their attention with the headline. You have proved your understanding of their problem in the About section using natural first-person language. Now you have to tell them exactly what to do next.
Right.
But we have to do it without triggering decision paralysis.
Yes. This is where we introduce the concept of the single path forward.
Think about it like walking into a diner and the waitress hands you a 50-page menu with 600 items on it.
Oh, I hate that.
It is the worst.
Yeah.
When you give someone too many choices, their brain just shuts down, they get overwhelmed, and they end up ordering a grilled cheese because it is safe, or they just leave. The same exact thing happens on your profile if you have a link to your website, a link to your booking calendar, a link to your podcast, a link to a white paper, and a link to your latest article, all competing for their attention at the same time.
Because decision fatigue is a very real phenomenon in digital marketing. To solve this, we focus on the featured section.
Right.
On most profiles, this section sits directly below the About section. It is the highest impact, most underused piece of real estate you have available to you.
So what is the strategy for the featured section to avoid handing them that 50-page menu?
You put exactly one item in it.
Just one?
One single focus. It should be a clear, frictionless entry point into your world.
What does a frictionless entry point actually look like for a new consultant?
Well, it could be a lead magnet, like a free downloadable resource directly tied to the exact problem you solve.
Okay.
It could be a subscription link to your weekly newsletter. Or it could just be a simple Start Here page on your website that explains exactly how your consulting process works.
So the format matters less than the focus.
Exactly. The format matters a lot less. It must be one item, one action, and one clear handoff from being an anonymous profile visitor to becoming a known contact on your email list.
One path forward. I love how clean and deliberate that is. But making the system work requires a few changes under the hood of your profile, too. There is a critical back-end settings tweak we need to discuss regarding how people actually interact with your account.
This is a vital mechanical change that most people never think to look for. You really need to adjust your profile settings to prioritize building an audience rather than just collecting random connections.
Wait, I have always just used the standard connect button. Is there a way to force the profile to prioritize followers without making it look like I am some massive influencer who is too good to connect with normal people?
Yeah, people worry about that.
I mean, I do not want to seem unapproachable.
It does not make you look unapproachable at all. It actually makes you easier to interact with. You go into your settings, then you click on visibility, then you go to followers, and you enable the option that says make follow primary.
Explain the psychology behind why that matters. What does changing a button from connect to follow actually do to the buyer's mindset?
It removes social friction.
How so?
Well, a connection request requires a mutual agreement. It is a two-way street. When a potential buyer sees a connect button, they subconsciously think, if I click this, will this person immediately send me a pitch in my inbox? Will I have to talk to them?
Ah, there is a social obligation attached to it.
Right. But a follow button is a one-way subscription. It allows a potential client to quietly subscribe to your content, read your posts, and assess your expertise from a safe distance without having to send a formal request or commit to a conversation.
It signals that you are an authority publishing valuable insights, rather than just an eager salesperson trying to force a meeting. That is a brilliant, subtle shift in power dynamics.
It lowers the barrier to entry for your most cautious buyers. And, while we are discussing mechanics of the profile, we have to talk about the experience section. This is the actual chronological list of your past jobs.
Yes, this is where I know a lot of our listeners get really nervous. They hear us say, stop acting like a candidate, and they assume we mean they should go in and delete their entire 40-year career history so they can look like a 25-year-old tech startup founder.
Oh, please do not delete your career history.
Right.
That 40-year track record is an incredible asset. It is the absolute foundation of your authority. The fact that you were a controller during a major recession in 1994 gives you deep, unshakable credibility that a young startup founder simply cannot fake.
So the strategy here is not to erase your past. The strategy is to completely reframe it.
Exactly.
We need to reframe it from a list of daily duties to a list of transferable outcomes.
Precisely. Nobody wants to read 3 bullet points about how you managed a team of 5 accountants and oversaw payroll in 1994.
No.
Managing payroll is a basic duty, but they absolutely want to know that you restructured the financial reporting system in a way that increased company profitability by 12%.
Right, because that is a measurable outcome.
Yes. You want to collapse the older roles that do not serve your current positioning and rewrite the descriptions of the ones that do. Highlight the specific expertise that directly applies to the problems you help people solve today.
You are basically building a bridge for the reader. You are taking what you accomplished back then and drawing a direct line to what you can accomplish for their business right now.
And you should also add a brand new current entry for your consulting or coaching practice, even if you are literally just starting it today.
Oh, that is smart. Do not wait until you have 10 clients to update your title.
No, do not wait. This signals to every visitor that you are officially open for business. It tells the market that you are not just winding down from a corporate career or taking a gap year. You are actively building a new enterprise.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We talked about the scale of the opportunity, the psychological pivot from candidate to resource, the formula for a forward-facing headline, the bouncer analogy for the about section, the single path forward to avoid decision fatigue, and the necessary back-end tweaks to reduce social friction.
That is a lot.
It is a lot. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone listening with a final provocative thought regarding a section we have not spent much time on yet.
The recommendation section. This is actually going to be a piece of homework for everyone listening today.
Yes. I want you to go look at your profile right now and read your past endorsements. Are they full of generic polite praise? Do they say things like, John is great to work with, or Sarah is a wonderful team player who always brings a positive attitude?
Which is nice. But...
Right. Those are very nice character references, but they do absolutely nothing to sell high-ticket consulting services. I challenge you to start reaching out to former colleagues and past clients to ask recommendations that speak to specific business transformations.
The difference in impact between a character reference and a transformation story is just staggering. A review that simply says, you were a nice person to have in the office, is ignored.
Yeah.
But a review from a former CEO stating that you came in, diagnosed a critical flaw in the supply chain, and saved the company $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Well, that does infinitely more work than any sales pitch you could ever write yourself.
Wow, yeah. It proves you can identify a pain point and deliver a massive return on investment.
It is the ultimate third-party proof that you are a valuable resource, not just a likable candidate. When you are selling your expertise, you need proof of transformation, not just proof of employment.
Exactly.
So take the time to actively curate those recommendations. Guide the people writing them. Ask them politely to focus on the specific outcomes you delivered, rather than just your personality. It is really the final, critical piece of the puzzle in turning your profile into a true client-generating asset.
That's your executive briefing for this week. If you found value in these insights, share this episode with fellow retirepreneurs and subscribe to the Retirepreneur newsletter at retirepreneur.com. Follow us for weekly strategic insights, and remember, your most successful chapter is just beginning. Until next week, keep building.